Hello. Wow. Okay, I've now got two Mark reads. That's incredible. Hold on. I'm just going to exit and come back. I do apologize. I see my sounds working now. You know what? You know what? That was the best intro ever. Hold it. I'll let's reset. Let's reset. I don't know what's happening here. Why is there? Yay! There we go. Okay. Okay, so complete reset. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fundamentalist Fails. It's Friday. I'm feeling fine. I hope you're feeling fine. I'm feeling great, even though my technical ability is terrible, and that absolutely killed all momentum I had. Welcome to the absolute tragic dumpster fire that is Fundamentalist Fails. And I just fails. Hey, do you need a group to blame for the downfall of society? Do you need a group that is the cause of all ills and our entire culture and our entire civilization coming to an end? Do you need someone to blame? Well, today's your lucky day, because we have a group, and Frank Turek is going to show us how to blame one segment of society for the collapse of civilization. Oh yes, you think it couldn't be done. But before we start, could you please help me? Please, somebody help me, and maybe give a like and a subscribe. I can afford to. Look, I just updated my my NVIDIA program, and it absolutely screwed me. It shafted me. Yes, I've been shafted. But Frank Turek doesn't like that kind of thing. Oh no. Frank Turek is very adamant that the gays are destroying society. Yes, you heard it first from Turek. He absolutely is a bit of a nutter, in my opinion. But we will get to him. I just want to I'll just update the Discord. Now, Discord is available. It should be linked because I figured out how to YouTube briefly yesterday. It should be linked, kind of thing. So yeah. Let's see. Let's just announce my stream. Yeah, all right, and we will start on it. Now, look, Frank Turek is a bit of a joke, and I really do have to have a shout out to the Humanity podcast, which kind of was doing a Frank Turek video. I'm not doing the same one, but it kind of got me thinking about Frank. So I went over to cross-examine it, and I found the most ridiculous bullshit. Hey, do you feel like being angry at some creationists today? Well, boy, do I have the video for you. Boy, do I have the video for you. And happy Pride Month, by the way. I celebrate Pride Month. Celebrate's a bit strong. I acknowledge and enjoy Pride Month because people are happy. Oh, watch out. We've got yeah, that's not what I wanted to do. Thank you. Right. Let's just, oh, I know how to do this. I'm good at this. I'm good at this. I really am. Wow. Okay. Left-handed Jedi with 10 readerships. Dang, Jedi. That's awesome. Thank you so much. That's amazing. Yeah. I'm so sorry about my technical fumble. Look, you're the only thing keeping this show together. I got to be honest with you. You and Stop the Stupidity and actually the rest of you are keeping it together, despite my best efforts to sync it with bad technical ability and complete nonsense. So those go out to Scarlet Dobbs, Beamsy, Rainbow, Ash, Wally, Wonka, the Lomax, Leomore, Kato. Okay, that one's a bit hard. That's a bit hard. Curious Kingdom, 420, Godless, Granny, Laura, 77XX, Jay, Pasic. Winners, chicken dinners. Please enjoy your emotes and other benefits. Actually, we had a member stream the other day. I had such a fun time. I had a blast just playing Minecraft, chatting with people in the chat, just chilling out. It was a great time, and I succeeded in my mission of making a taco. Yes, it was Taco Thursday. That is right. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Left-Handed Jedi. You are a champ. You're absolute champ. And here's some chicken dinners for you, sir. Fantastic. But today we're going to be checking out, Tommy and Matt are fantastic. I haven't really met Matt, but Tommy's awesome. I do like talking to Tommy. But what we have is a wild Turek appears. A wild Turek appears, yes. Yes. Now, Turek, if you're unfamiliar, he does a channel called Cross-Examined. The only times where he's been, his persona. So Turek, I think, changes his persona depending on the environment that he's in. So when he's talking to someone like Alex O'Connor, he's very reserved. When he's talking to college kids or something, he says the wildest crap, right? He says the wildest stuff. So I think Turek's very disingenuous with presenting a consistent level of stuff to people, because he'll change depending on which situation he's in, and that's the most irritating thing about Turek. Like, he'll say all of this wild crap while, speaking at these university Christian clubs, but when he actually goes in to talk to somebody with, a philosophy or history or somebody knowledgeable, he will really be, I'm just a light Christian, I don't believe in all of this, fundamentalist stuff. But he says it all, and he won't stand by it if he's pressed. It's actually quite disgusting. And the stuff that he sort of says to students is so wild. And so we're going to see some of that today. Oh, Turek, why do you do this? Why do you do this?
As we enter the month of June and the war on reality.
So this is their new statement, right? Like that gay people exist and should have the same freedoms as everybody else. This is their war on reality. Okay, this is what they're basically calling it. The war on reality of God, which is just ridiculous. It's like saying, I'm a Buddhist. You're having a war on the reality of reincarnation. Like, it's so nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I'm sorry, but there's nothing, like, you can't even show your God. Like, you can't show any of this stuff.
How do Christians respond to Pride Month if we're asked why we don't have pride flags or won't sponsor the pride parades?
I would ask the question,
I don't think anybody is expecting them to. I don't sponsor pride parades. I probably would if I could. But, just because you don't sponsor, like, nobody's saying that you have to engage, like, you have to celebrate pride. Like, if you don't want to, you can just ignore it. What we have a problem with is you actively opposing it, right? That's a problem, because you have a group of people that have been marginalized and oppressed and committed atrocious things against. You have people that have been historically oppressed and marginalized and had horrendous things done to them. And when they celebrate the fact that that doesn't happen anymore and they can be out in the open and a happy member of society, you're going, no, you've got to go back and hide in the shadows. You gotta go back and hide in the shadows. You don't have to do, like, I don't have to celebrate Christmas, right? I can just decide, hey, Christmas isn't for me. That's fine, right? I don't have to celebrate Christmas. But if I was going around going, no, we should take Christmas away from the Christians, like they shouldn't be allowed to celebrate it, then you'll get where we're coming from. for pride. Like, you don't have to celebrate it. Stop screwing with other people's celebrations. Look, I don't celebrate Ramadan either, but I don't go around saying, oh, we should stop Ramadan from being celebrated. It's not, it doesn't align with my Christian values. I think he's saying, well, what about all the people that's hassling me for not supporting Pride? I would guess that they're not. What they're doing is hassling you for probably speaking out against it, like trying to stop people from enjoying it. Just saying.
Why should we support those things? I would ask the person who asked me, why do you think we should? Because I'm not against people, but I am against certain behaviors.
Yeah, and this is the sort of dodge that they do. Oh, I'm not against gay people. I'm just against certain behaviors. Hate the behavior, not the person, is their kind of, mantra that they keep repeating. The problem is that those behaviors, it would be like, oh, well, I don't hate Christians, I just hate the way they practice Christianity. It's like, okay, but this, for those people, has been a problem in the past because they have been absolutely persecuted for this behavior, and people like Frank Turek are advocating for it again. And more than that, and you'll see as we go on, they basically blame them for all of society's ills. They blame people that aren't Christian for the everything bad that happens in society, and that is just not the case.
And so are you if you say that I ought to be celebrating Pride Month, and I'm not. You somehow think I'm wrong. Why are you against that behavior? You see, everybody has a moral standard.
Yeah, I don't think so. When we're talking about oughts, we're always talking about morality, right? Like, if you ever say, and I know morality puts people to sleep, it's terrible, it's like convoluted and hard and crap. Totally get it. But when we're ever talking about oughts, we're talking about morality, what you ought to do. And I don't think anyone's going, well, you ought to celebrate Pride Month. The stance would be, you ought not oppose it, right? You ought not interfere with the happiness of the lives of these people, which he does and goes on to, of course, do, okay? So it's not a case of you ought to revel in this thing. It's a case of you ought not actively oppose it with your words and what you're doing. That's the whole point, right? You can't just go, well, I'm going to speak out against it, but you're just expecting me not to celebrate it. No, you're speaking out against it. You're actively opposing people's happiness.
The question is, where do you get your moral standard from? I don't want it to just be my opinion. I want to appeal to the standard beyond myself.
Yeah, and this is something that the real fundamentalist author bros like, oh, if you believe that human well-being is important, that's just your opinion. And I'm sorry, it's not. Like, if the standard for morality is human well-being, and that's my standard for morality, it's not just my opinion whether or not cutting off someone's hands is good or bad for their well-being, right? Like, that's not a thing. Like, I can't just go, oh, well, I'm going to promote human flourishing, right? And basically imprison everybody in society, right? Like, empirically, that is not a flourishing society. It's just this whole dodge where they're basically saying, because the idea that you want flourishing, or you want people to be happy, like the greatest happiness principle, or you want people to be well, then every single decision is just a comes from your mind. No, it doesn't. And this, you might say, hey, the decision to promote human well-being comes from your mind, but wait, so is the decision to follow a god. That comes from your mind as well. So you have a lurking ought in there, one that you can't reconcile, which is why ought you follow a God, especially when it is so objectively harmful to human well-being. Like, don't you want human well-being? He says he does. Then it's not from my mind, is it, Frank? It's from our minds. We agree on that. It comes from your mind as well, that, hey, human well-being is the thing that we're after. Right? But you just go, well, a God will get you to human well-being, even though you can't demonstrate that is actually the case. So you're saying, hey, it comes from something objective outside my mind. Yes, so does mine. I can look at the actions people do, look at the scientific method, and tell what is good for human well-being and what is not. We study that. You just go, hey, the dude in a robe has talked to God or whatever. He knows what's good for you. Which one is going to get you to human well-being better? But the idea that it just all comes from your mind, that's a dodge. That's a straw man. That is not true, because it doesn't all come from your mind.
And God has given us boundaries in which we need to live, not for his benefit, but for ours. Look, you just can't do whatever you want without consequence.
No, nobody is saying that. That's the thing. Nobody's saying that. He's basically stating the obvious. You can't do whatever you want without consequence. Yeah, no shit. Yeah. You think? Oh, everything has consequences? Yes, it does. What's your point? But you're appealing to some being, some entity that you can't even show exists and say, trust me, bro, the consequences are going to be really bad after you die if you don't do these things. Whereas I'm saying, hey, we can see the consequences for doing things that are harmful for human well-being. For instance, if you go out and you sell drugs on the street, the consequences are going to be really bad, not only for yourself, but also for others and society in general. And we can see the consequences of that, right? Like, you know, it depends what it is. If you're running a dispensary or whatever, it's fine. It's fine. You know, if you're running a pub, right? I don't know if you use pub. Do you use tavern? What do you guys use for some place that you go and drink, right? If you're running a thing, you'll be fine. I still think that alcohol's not that great for society. Like, we have to talk about what's best for society here, but you know, there definitely are consequences. So on one hand, we have, yes, we can see the empirical, the scientifically validated consequences for certain actions, and we change society a bar. Thank you, Beta Ray. Thank you. Yes, a bar. Gotcha. Yeah, we use pub or tavern, interchangeably. Yeah, gotcha. Thank you. I'm not up to date with my Yankee linguistics. Do you guys know we call you Yanks? And you know, I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, hey, I'm from the South. I'm not a Yank. Australians don't care. We just don't care, right? We just like, yeah, they're. It's like I'm sorry, Noise. It is Frank Turek, but you know, this one is wild. So strap in or strap on, whatever makes you happiest. Because Frank Turek's never going to be happy. Bar, pub, saloon, or dive. Yeah, thanks, dive. thanks, Jigs. Yeah, maybe hole would go in there as well. I remember one place we used to call a hole. Anyway, getting back onto topic. Yeah, maybe selling alcohol and stuff isn't great for society. Maybe it is, but we study this and come up. Instead, what Frank does is, well, God tells me gays are bad, so therefore gays are bad. And it's not coming from my own mind, it's coming from God's. So trust me. What the hell? What are you talking about? Like, which way is going to get to the truth? And I might add, other people that are listening to the same God are saying, no, God loves gays. What are you talking about? Gays are totally fine. So how do we know? How do we know who is right about whether God loves or hates gays? Bogans. The Bogans. Nice. Nice. Yeah, nice, aren't you? Yeah, we're all bogans over here. Gotcha. So he's just basically going, well, yours comes from your own mind, not true, while mine comes from a God that you can't show. It's wild, right? Because when I look at human well-being, I don't go, well, what does my mind say? It says that, eviscerating someone will be good for their well-being. No, that's not how I'm getting my answers. It's going out there and empirically testing what is good for people and what is bad for people.
Men were made for women. Women were made for men.
They weren't made at all, Frank. It's evolution, mate. They evolved. And so from multicellular creatures, and we can tell this by embryology, the embryo starts out as female, right? So it's more than likely that the female kind of developed first because of embryology. The development of embryos kind of mimic, or they kind of represent, the evolutionary descent that we had, right? That's the fact of the matter. That the embryo originally starts out with like a tadpole tail, and it kind of grows out from there. It kind of reflects how we came about. So all embryos sort of start female. They all do. So as far as gene transfer goes, there's no specific reason why organisms have to be male and female, right? So a lot of more simpler life forms, or simpler organisms, they just do gene transfer, horizontal gene transfer, right? It's not a case of they have male or female. They have asexual reproduction, but they still transfer genes. I think that in the case of mammals, for instance, and like male and female is a spectrum, and we know this because there's certain, say, amphibians that can spontaneously change sex under certain conditions. I think the axolotl is one of them. Fascinating creatures. They can, if they're out of water or in a certain temperature, they spontaneously change sex. Like, it isn't this thing that you think it is, Frank. It's not, like with mammals, it's more solidified in these extremes. But, sexual we have people that have traits of both sexes. It's a lot more complicated than you think. A lot more complicated. So, I mean, that's undeniable. And a huge amount of Pornhub agrees with you, Sapphire. A huge amount of Pornhub agrees with you. Oh, hello, Kip. Good to see you, mate. Are you raiding me? Thank you for the raid if you're raiding me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you if you're not. That's okay. You can come alone. I don't mind. Just click the like and show me some love, because I need it at the moment. Man, the start of this was an absolute disaster. I will tell you that right now. Before that, we are literally eggs till fertilized. The tail is just one of those stages. Yeah, correct. Yes. Yes, but the frog starts as eggs and then has a tail kind of thing. Yes.
And the best way to perpetuate and stabilize society is for that relationship to be celebrated legally and morally over every other relationship. Because without that, civilization breaks down. In fact...
Yeah, so he's basically advocating for the Christian idea of marriage to be celebrated and prioritized over any other relationship, which is a wild statement. I think that at some point our societies realized that de facto relationships are a thing. You might call it common law marriage, but de facto relationships are where people are in a partnership, but they're not married legally, right? They've been living with one another for that long. They're basically like they're together. I don't have a problem with that. The law doesn't have a problem with that. They just say, hey, if you've been living, I think in Australia it's over 6 months. If you've been living together, then you're in a de facto relationship. That, like, according to the law, de facto means at face, on the face. Like, so face value, you're married essentially. Now, there are extra legal protections you get when you're officially married, but the Christian Church doesn't give out marriage licenses. Okay, the Christian Church doesn't give out marriage. Hey, Jess. Hey, Jess. Jess has been doing some fantastic work too. Good to see you. Hey, if you rated me, thank you. Oh, don't worry about it, Kip. All good, mate. All good. Look, this is the thing. We can't just prioritize married couples over everybody else in society, right? Like, oh, they've got the priority. They're going to be the ones that we fight. Look, what we can do is prioritize their specific needs and others' specific needs, right? Like, so we can say, hey, people who are married and have a family, they will probably need help with childcare. Sure, absolutely. But there's other groups that may need help as well, right? Like a person that's single or, never got married, they will probably need help with aged care. Yeah. Like, it's not like we're saying, hey, screw the married people. Nobody's doing that. But we're saying that different groups of people will have different needs that the government should pay attention to. But we can't just go, well, marriage people are the pinnacle of society. Let's screw everybody else. They've got to be taken care of. That's not what we're doing here. We're saying, hey, everybody in society is an equal stakeholder in how that society goes. So they all deserve certain rights, and we should put resources towards what these groups need for their well-being. Like, but this is the sort of hierarchical system that he has. What happens if you get divorced, Frank? Are you suddenly, all the divorced people shouldn't be helped at all? Like, screw them? Like, what is he actually saying?
We just did a podcast with my friend Seth Gruber, who has written a book and also a documentary called The Last Stand.
Yeah, this guy's an idiot. Just quick spoiler, he's an idiot. So the Last Stand is basically this whole thing, and I might show you the ad for it. It's absolutely crap. Like, it is a terrible movie. It seems like an absolutely terrible movie. It seems like an absolutely terrible movie. Apparently there was an earlier movie, a Arnie movie called The Last Stand, and it from 2013. It wasn't a bad. It's an Arnie movie. What can I say? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Rarely does he actually screw up, but this is sort of this whole, I've talked a lot before about what will Christians do when they realize that they're really falling off in power and influence, right? How are they going to react? And it seems like this bullshit is exactly how they're going to react. So this is the trailer of The Last Stand. I mean, prepare yourself. Okay, I hope you're ready.
For centuries, the church shaped the West.
He's just staring at that statue. Just captivated by that statue. Look, this is the epitome of conservatives, right? Like, this is a conservative in action. They stand and stare at a statue and ignore all of the bad things the guy did in the statue. They're just like, oh, he was so bronzed and large. Look at that stomach bulge. It's so manly. Those knees are so manly. I'm sorry.
Then came the Enlightenment, and with it, a wave of destruction. But they didn't just reject God. They set fire to anything that...
I'm sorry. The Enlightenment set fire.
reminded them of him.
I'm sorry.
To anything that reminded them of him.
Yeah, so they didn't just reject God, even though a lot of Enlightenment thinkers like John Locke were actually Christian. Oh, they set fire to anything that reminded them of him? What? Are you serious? What? This is crazy.
We're facing a real crisis. I don't want my grandchildren to have to be the pioneers of a new civilization.
I don't want my grandchildren to be the pioneers of a new civilization. What the fuck are you talking about? What?
Scripture says that there's nothing new under the sun. We're getting insights into the fact that things are spiritually consistent.
The bloodiest century in history was not an accident. It was a choice. And today in the 21st century...
The bloodiest century in history was not an accident. It was a choice. So the reason why the last century was the bloodiest in history is not because of the Enlightenment. It's because technology got better. Right? Like, if the Christian knights in the Middle Ages had, artillery, for instance, that would probably be the most bloody century in history. It wasn't because the people in the past, didn't want to slaughter Muslims wholesale, and vice versa. Let's face it, vice versa. Well, I mean, the Muslims didn't actually invade much of Europe, kind of thing. Europe really, the Christians really struck at the heart of Islam. But anyway, that aside, the reason, it wasn't because they were like, oh, we shouldn't do this. It was because they just didn't have the tools that we have in the last century. Right? They didn't have, main battle tanks. They didn't have Sherman tanks. They didn't have Tiger tanks. They didn't have V2 rockets. They didn't have Luftwaffe bombers. That's the reason why it was the most bloody. Not because, when we was in Christianity, we didn't do that kind of thing. And I have to say that the most bloody conflict in the last century was World War II. And that was kicked off by a overwhelmingly Catholic country, Germany. Right? That was kicked off by Germany, which was overwhelmingly Catholic at the time. So you can't pretend like, it was the Enlightenment and then we had the bloodiest in history. It was the bloodiest in history because people... it wasn't an accident. It was the technology progressed. The reason why the Mongols did so much destruction was because of technology. And you might say technology? What technology did the Mongols had? They had composite bows. They had composite bows made up of different types of wood that were very, very, very strong. Look up composite bows, just the way that they're made, with a stretchy outer layer and a very firm, stiff inner layer. They actually get a lot of pound draw, power for how big they are. And because of that, the Mongols could use these very powerful bows on horseback and shoot their opponents from any direction while riding. That was their technology that they used to absolutely conquer, parts of China, a lot of Europe. They absolutely cut a swath across. So it's not, it's not like, in the past, we just haven't had the technology. And when Christians have had the technology, like Germany got V2 rockets, they're not hesitant about using them. They're not hesitant at all. Now, I'm not saying it's because of the Christians, but you can't blame the Enlightenment for that. We've also had technology that's enabled vast growth. The invention of nitrogen-fixing fertilizer has caused there to be an incredible uptick of population. So you can't just say, well, technology is the problem then, we should all go back to sticks and rocks. No, because it's also done great good for society. So, this is just a absolute manipulation of what is the actual cause of the problems in society.
We are making similar choices that could lead to something equally deadly. The question is, will we be faithful and will we stand now?
You know the wild thing about this? We're making equal choices. You know what the wild thing about these people are? The people that got Trump elected. And now he's going to war against the world, basically. He's asking for Greenland. He's threatening Canada. He's gone into Iraq. Like, these are the people that put some idiot like him in there, some narcissistic overlord in the White House, in the most powerful nation in the world, and then they're going, we're making the same choices. We should turn to Christianity. Christians put him there. What are you talking about?
We can look back at the Christians and the scholars and the philosophers who fought for goodness and righteousness centuries ago, millennia ago, and we can see, okay, how did they answer the questions that we are grappling with?
I just want to point out to Ali Beth Stuckey, she's a bit weird, to be honest. She's a bit of a weird one, because she sort of says, oh, women shouldn't preach, women shouldn't be in the pulpit, women should, be in the home, and then goes out and makes a podcast and makes a shitload of money off of it. I can't take her seriously. I'm sorry. But if you're sort of advocating for the woman's place and then going and doing, man's work of telling people how to think and behave, I'm sorry, I can't take you seriously. I can't. It's too hard. It's too hard to take you seriously. And I will point out that the wonderful philosophers and enlightened people and the wonderful thinkers of the antiquity would have a problem with what you're doing, speaking for men right now, Ali Beth. They would have a problem with that. It's so wild. And yes, Joe, it is propaganda. Absolutely is, yes. We haven't even gotten to the worst parts yet, but hey, yeah, absolutely.
We're telling the stories that American Christians have forgotten about the heroes of the faith and the church fathers who stood against a culture of death.
The church fathers that stood against a culture of death. Look, these stories, it's not like we've forgotten, the Christians have forgotten. What they're doing is rewriting history and then presenting it as this nostalgic story that you've forgotten, which is really just made up by them. Like, this never happened. You didn't have these Christians standing against a culture of death. What were the Crusades? Like, don't get me wrong. I think that a lot of Christians have stood up against inequities and injustice and sort of horrific oppression and tyranny, sure. But a lot of them have also been the cause of it. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Oh, we're getting raided? I'm sorry, I didn't get the notification, maybe? I don't know. YouTube, why are you like this? But welcome, Skeptic Haven Raiders. I'm happy to be raided. Raid me, daddy, raid me. Okay, that's making me feel uncomfortable. That's making me feel very uncomfortable. Whoops, wrong one.
Ideology shapes culture. This ideological culture is what we all move in. You're not even aware of it most of the time.
Michael Knowles. What are you doing, sir? You're absolutely terrible. So this is obviously a Catholic thing. Famously, Knowles is Catholic. And this is sort of setting it up as we're losing the culture. We've got to get it back. There is a problem here that they don't want to lose control of society, and they see it as this is our last stand to maintain relevance. But why lie about all this stuff? The Catholic Church has had to apologize for so much throughout its history. And even the Pope doesn't agree with most of the things that these people are promoting. You know, they're anti-evolution, they're anti-gay. Pope isn't on board with that, and he's supposed to be God's representative on earth. Doesn't matter, I guess.
No matter how many times we lose for what we're standing for that is right, we keep standing to the death because it is right. The truth is worthy of our own blood.
Okay, it really makes me worry when people start talking like that. That, well, you know, even though we keep losing, we have the truth, and the truth is worthy of our own blood. Yeah, it always makes me worry when people are talking about sacrificing their blood to keep an ideology going. You know, especially when they've just... And it's kind of weird that they mention that they stand against death and all of this stuff, but they're willing to fight to their own blood to maintain a Christian paradigm. Pretty weird. Pretty odd. And no one's stopping them from being Christian. That's the thing. No one's stopping them. They're very happy. You know, you go, you do your Catholic thing, you eat the blood of Jesus and drink the flesh of Jesus. I don't care. Like, you go do your rituals with your weird hat. I don't mind it. But when you start talking like this entire culture needs to be Christian and we will fight for it to our last blood, that's a problem. That's a problem.
We are at a moment in our time where we still have an opportunity to turn things around.
Yeah, so that sort of, we have an opportunity to turn things around after saying we're going to fight to our last blood. Yeah, I'm sure I say it's metaphorically. It's really worrying. It is really worrying.
This is our battlefield. This is our last stand.
Yeah. Bit of a worry. So Seth Gruber, are you currently mad about anything? Is anything really making you mad? Do you want to be? Do you want to be mad? Because I can enable you. Here, this is what I'll do. This was made by Seth Gruber and the White Rose Resistance, right? That's who made this. So the question becomes, who is the White Rose Resistance, right? Who is the White Rose Resistance? Well, the White Rose Resistance, in the past, during World War II, it was a group of Germans, students, that opposed the fascist regime of World War II Germany. Okay, that was who the White Rose Resistance is. But they have appropriated it, right? They've appropriated it to be their anti-choice or their pro-life movement thing. It's absolutely despicable. It's absolutely despicable. So the White Rose Resistance was a courageous, I mean, this is the overview. It was a courageous, non-violent student resistance group in Nazi Germany, centered on Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich. right? So they actively tried to sabotage and resist Hitler's totalitarian regime, right? So these are the main people in the White Rose Resistance. Some of them were Christian, some of them weren't, some of them were not. But it was a non-violent intellectual resistance. One of them was actually a Buddhist. Okay, so it wasn't a Christian movement, and they basically said you are welcome. It did not depend on race, sex, religion, or age, right? They were motivated by ethical, moral, and religious considerations. Alexander Schmoller was Eastern Orthodox, not Catholic. Trollevent was anthroposophy. So that's so weird. That's so weird. It's basically, it's an intellectually incomprehensible spiritual world, which, quite frankly, most New Age spiritualism is intellectually incomprehensible to me. But yeah, Eugen Grimminger considered himself a Buddhist, right? Like, you know, this is them trying to hijack. And the thing that makes me mad about it, the thing that makes me really mad about it, right, is that they've taken the pro-life movement, who are fundamentalist Christians, who put Trump in the White House, who is the most fascist dictator that America's ever seen. That same group of people are appropriating, right? They're appropriating the name of the White Rose Resistance, which was an Antifa movement. This is Antifa. This is Antifa. This is an Antifa movement, right? The White Rose Resistance was a German Antifa movement. And they're appropriating their name for a fucking pro-life stance. And I'll show you this. Oh no, it's White Rose. I think it's just called White Rose. Oh, I can't find it. I'll put in pro-life. I had this the other day. I mustn't have saved the link. Yeah, there we go. The White Rose Resistance. Life is our revolution. Right? Get pro-life encouragement and action steps. This is Sophia Scholl was one of the original White Rose Resistance members. Right. The problem, lack of knowledge. Only 1 in 10 people can give an accurate account of Roe v. Wade. Planned Parenthood is one of the best funded, most profitable. Lack of pro-life expression. They've appropriated the name from a Antifa movement for pro-life, which is disgusting. That is disgusting. That is so disgusting. I mean, so look, you might try to link it in, right, to sort of say, hey, like the Germans allowed abortion. Did they? Did they? In some cases, yes. Like they would enforce abortion on undesirables, right? On people that they didn't like. That's not pro-choice. If you're enforcing abortion, that's not pro-choice. But guess what? They also outlawed abortion among Aryan people, right? So the desirables, the correct race, they outlawed abortion. They were pro-life towards Aryans, towards others. They just went, yeah, you're not going to breed. They were basically, which isn't the same as pro-choice, which is, hey, you should have a choice on whether you do or you don't. That is nothing to do with the White Rose Resistance. These people should be ashamed of themselves. And considering that they, like, hate Antifa, them using Antifa people, you know, because these people, they weren't advocating for any kind of ideology. They were against fascism. That is Antifa. To use their movement as a sounding a trumpet call for their pro-life fascist movement is just disgusting. I think that's absolutely horrible. But anyway, that's who this guy is, this Gruber guy, and he's absolutely he's a terrible person. Like, you can see his movie looks so propagandistic. It seems to distort reality. It seems to have, you know, these talking heads who have no idea about history and what the White Rose movement is. It's like they've just taken one of the religious people from the movement, quoted her, which really it's got nothing to do with pro-life, and then said, well, that's us. That's us. Yeah, we're doing the same thing. Wow.
Stand. And the last stand, he is saying we are in right now because J.D. Unwin, who was an Oxford anthropologist in 1934, wrote a book.
Oh, 1934. So glad we're up to date on our science for anthropology. You know, we're so up to date, we're going back almost 100 years to get our citation. Well done. So if you're unfamiliar with this book, and I don't know why you would be familiar with this book was Sex and Culture, written by J.D. Unwin. Basically what it did was that it blamed sexual liberation for the collapse of civilizations, right? It was basically this book that said, hey, every single civilization of the 80 that he studied, the problem was, and actually I'll get into the problems later, but he basically claimed in this book that sexual liberation was followed like 100 years later by the collapse of these civilizations. But they were advanced civilizations. So it was a contentious book at the time. A lot of anthropologists refuted it at the time, right? Because, 92 years ago. Yeah, so almost 100 years. Like, you know, nothing like an up-to-date citation. So the problem comes that he basically said advanced civilizations collapsed when they had sexual liberation, and there was a lot of disagreement over what civilization was advanced or not. Spoiler, it was the, you know, generally considered European and Western civilizations. Just saying. And two, there were a lot of things that caused civilization collapse, and there are instances where it wasn't sexual liberation. For instance, you get one of the biggest civilizations, the Roman Empire, right? And during the last 100 years of the, like, it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, it had been sexually liberated. During the last 100 years was actually when the Christians took over, and it became less sexually liberated because of these Christian values. You know, no more orgies, no more this, no more that. You know, they really did have the opposite effect. And when you look at these civilizations, there are always things that cause civilization, things like famine, right? Corruption, social upheaval, external forces like invasion, for instance, civil war, invasion. These are more indicators of what caused the collapse than sexual liberation. And there's civilizations where he doesn't explain at all. Like, for instance, the concubine system that the Chinese had. Their civilization went for ages using concubines. But he doesn't explain why. So don't forget, this isn't a peer-reviewed paper or a paper that has been... This was a book one anthropologist in the 1930s wrote. A bit ridiculous.
That pointed out that 86 civilizations, 100% of the time, after they codified what he called complete sexual freedom, those civilizations all were destroyed. And what Seth is saying, and I think he's right, is the year we began to...
Yeah, so if it's hard to define how many civilizations have been in the past, but presumably, you know, you would say probably about 1,000 major civilizations have been past. That's what I'd probably give an estimate, right? From the Assyrians, Babylonians, Egyptians, you know, all the way up to the Indian nations and things like that. So Frank's a bit wrong on this one, right? Because what he did was not look at all civilizations. He looked at advanced civilizations. And his criteria for advanced was kind of stupid. It was kind of stupid. Like, you know, this is sort of cherry picking. Because he's done 80. How many major civilizations have there been? Probably 1,000 or so. So you get 80 from that. Well, you're just eliminating the others because they're not advanced. But you're happy to say that the Assyrians are an advanced civilization, but you won't acknowledge the you know, Indian nations, the Native American nations, sorry, were advanced civilizations. I mean, hell, you probably wouldn't acknowledge that the Indian, you know, nation, like the actual one in India was. You probably wouldn't acknowledge that the Mongolian nation was an advanced civilization, even though they were. You know, it's not. It's sort of this cherry picking of data, and that was pointed out in the 1930s. Much less the more stringent sort of knowledge of science we've got since then. And there's a reason why a paper saying the same thing wouldn't hold up. Or I don't think it would hold up. Submit it. Submit it as a paper, not a book in 1934. But apparently this is being grabbed onto by modern fundamentalist Christians as being some sort of set in stone fact. And it's not. It's not at all. There are so many problems with this. And modern anthropologists point out that all of those civilizations have had some form of catastrophe. Like, not all of them have had, oh, they got sexually liberated and then the society collapsed, because there's ones that haven't. And ones that they became more sort of, you know, sexually repressive and they still collapsed. So it doesn't follow. But having catastrophes like all of these things, civil wars, fires, well, not fires, but famines, invasions, corruption, things like that, that always happens. Was there any distinction between matriarchal and patriarchal? Oh, look, Jinx, like, I think from this guy in the 1930s, I mean, I didn't read the book. I had a quick look at it. It's available online for free, obviously no copyright. It seems really boring, but I think that he would not consider a matriarchal society to be advanced. And that's the problem. When you're saying, oh, it's not all it's advanced civilizations, and then what you consider to be advanced is a cultural thing, right? You're basically saying, oh, well, they've got to have this, 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 and this. You know, it's a cultural thing.
To codify total sexual freedom was 1973. Because that's when abortion on demand became the law of the land through the Supreme Court. That's when the APA...
That's a weird way of phrasing it. Abortion on demand. Well, I think it's your right to bodily autonomy, but, you know, okay. Abortion on demand.
said homosexual behavior was no longer a disorder. That's when the Endangered Species Act took place. And you know who was not part of the endangered species? Unborn children.
That's Can anyone guess why unborn children are not an endangered species? Can anybody give a quick guess for me? Can anybody postulate, like just offhand, why unborn children are not a fucking species? Like, this is the thing about Frank Turek. He says the dumbest stuff. Like, he doesn't say this kind of stuff to biologists or philosophers or anybody that is knowledgeable in their field. He goes and he says it's to students. You know, and they'll repeat it to somebody, and they sound stupid. They sound so stupid. Like, why would we consider an unborn child to be a separate species than human? Sir? How does that make any sense? So basically he's saying that we should categorize unborn children, like embryos and zygotes, as a different species to an adult human. What is wrong with this man? Why? It's baffling. I mean, from that point you can go, well, if they're a different species, they don't have human rights because they're not Homo sapiens. That's our species. You moron. What is going on here? It's so wild, right? Why doesn't the World Wildlife Federation, because I believe that they're the ones that you know, sort of, or the, who does classify things as endangered species? International Union of Conservation of Nature. Okay, so why don't they classify a unborn child as a different species that needs to be endangered? That does not work. Like, why would somebody even say that? Why would somebody even say that? No, Nick, they're not fucking endangered. People have like babies all the time. It happens every damn day. Like, you don't even understand what an endangered species is. It's a species that is on the verge or getting dangerously close to going extinct. You moron. Like, seriously. Like, children are not on the verge of going extinct. What the hell?
Unborn eagle eggs were.
Yes, because eagles, the species, was on the verge of going extinct. And that was the American bald eagle specifically. There's other eagles which were differently categorized because they have different categories depending on how close they are to being extinct. What the hell? What the hell? The birth rate is declining. Yeah, but that's a slowing of growth. Like, you don't understand. We're still growing. The population is not at a stable, steady point. It's still expanding, the amount of population that we have. Right? It's still a positive birth rate. Okay, that's still happening. So the amount of people is currently getting higher and higher because it's not a negative birth. Like, you don't understand anything. It's wild. It's wild. Oh, the racism. Oh, so it's all about the white baby. Gotcha, Nick. So you're just outright racist. Okay, nice to know. So there's a problem if they're not white. Is that what you're saying? Gotcha.
Unborn snails were, right?
Certain species of snails, maybe. Certain species of snails. You know, I don't think your common garden snail is on the endangered species list. Let's look it up. So the common garden snail is Cornu asperum, and it is on conservation status. I'll share this. So this is the common garden snail. On conservation status, it's least concern. So no, it's not endangered at all. In fact, we could probably do we could probably use less of them. Yeah, no, I heartily support Aunt Jer's sentiment. It's stupid. And I love how these people are like, we're all the same race. We're all human. That's what Christianity says. But there's too many brown babies. Holy crap. That is so nuts. That is so nuts. Like, seriously. But it's not the Christians that are racist. It's all but there's too little white people. But the Christians aren't racist. Trust me. Wow. Just wow. Yeah. So, like, what Frank's not understanding is that we don't base endangered species on anything but a species of organism. And humans are not fucking endangered. We're not. Okay? With our numbers tending towards 8 billion, we are not endangered. Okay? And human embryos and fetuses are not a different species. The reason why a certain snail may be designated as endangered is because that species of snail is endangered. It's like orangutans, right? That species of ape is endangered. My species of ape is not endangered. So he doesn't what is this argument?
Unborn condors were, but not unborn children. And there's one other event, I'm trying to think of what it was in 73.
Condors, right. They're going extinct. Yes. So endangered species. Wow. Why do you have to explain this to somebody? How can this man speak at universities and then say something as utterly inane and stupid as unborn babies should be encountered as an endangered species? What is wrong with this man? What is wrong with that? You're claiming to be an intellectual speaker for your religion, and you say something that nonsensical. It defies all description.
That codified, that said by law, sexual deviance is a good thing.
No. It didn't say sexual deviance is a good thing. See, this is the crap that he brings out in universities and when speaking that he never says to anybody that knows what they're talking about, because they would slap him down so hard. For a start, sexual deviancy is just your religion's opinion on it. There's nothing saying that homosexual relations, there's something wrong with it. It's, throughout a lot of ancient civilizations, they did that. It's just your religion that says it's bad. Okay. But, the whole idea that it should be, what do you say? It should be something. It should be venerated or something?
Sexual deviance is a good thing.
No, they don't say it's a good thing. They just say that everybody's sexual preference should be acceptable if it doesn't harm anybody else. And so in order to try and get this colored as something bad, right, They're saying, oh, it harms society. All societies collapse once they have this sexual deviancy. But that's based upon a 1930s book from 92 years ago that was solidly debunked at the time. I mean, talk about your far stretch for any kind of fact here.
So if we go 73, 2073, so far the record is 86-0.
No. Because it wasn't all civilizations, Frank. It was the advanced ones. And even some of the advanced ones, advanced civilizations, they continued even though they were... they continued even though they were practicing sexual deviancy or more liberal sexual values, like the Greek civilization, which was planned by the Macedonian. The Roman one collapsed even though they went from sexual liberation to a more constricting form under the Christians. So no, it's not 86 and O, it's bullshit and O. Like, seriously, this is absolutely absurd.
By 2073, America may be over.
I would believe by 2073, maybe Christianity will be a very small religious group, right? So if the Pew Research continues the way it has been for the decline of Christianity, I think by about 2050, under even the most conservative estimates, the United States of America will be not majority Christian anymore. Okay, the most conservative Christians hang in there. You know, they do everything they can to prevent it. By about 2050, it will probably be minority Christian, right? So they don't like that. They think that's the collapse of civilization, but it isn't. There's plenty of countries around that are minority Christian and they haven't collapsed. Okay, tons of them. But they think that it will. They think that this will cause civilization. It won't. There's plenty of civilizations, there's plenty of European countries, not majority Christian. Australia's not majority Christian. You can still be Christian. That's the thing. Like, no one is saying, hey, we're going to stop you from being Christian. But stop using your hatred of others to try to make your religion relevant. Stop it. Like, just stop. Because what you're advocating for is against a marginalized group, historically marginalized group, that have been persecuted incredibly over the years. They used to be locked up in prison. Gay people used to be locked up in prison. Gay people used to be chemically castrated. It's not right. It's not right. So you've got to do better than some outdated book that was debunked at the time of the 30s to prove that sexual deviancy is somehow leading to the collapse of civilizations.
Unless we make a last stand. Unless we try and turn back to reality.
What reality is that? The Crusades? The Spanish Inquisition, maybe? Oh, maybe it was the papacy telling people in Africa that condoms would give them AIDS. Maybe you want to turn back to that time, Frank. What time are you talking about? Because this nostalgic time where we were flourishing because of Christians, it didn't fucking exist. It didn't exist. It's made up. I have no doubt that some Christian countries have flourished, but this whole thing about, oh, well, if Christians were in charge, everything, you got your guy in charge and look what happens. Where America and probably Australia by extension is currently at war with Iran, threatening Canada, threatening Greenland, and thereby extension the EU. That was your guy. That was your guy. Wow.
That's what the War on Reality book's all about. That's what the Last Stand conference is about. It's going to be in Denver next week. I'll be there for the first night. And that's what his documentary's about. By the way, those of you here and those of you out there, you can take that movie, The Last Stand, and show it at your church for free. Just go to the Last Stand Film. I think it's laststandfilm.com. If I have that wrong, just go to our...
I would not watch that film if someone... maybe I would watch that film if someone paid me to do it. Like, so if you want to pay me to do it, if you want me to watch that film and comment and critique on it, I certainly can do that. I would run... Honestly, that thing looks like an absolute shocker. Absolute shocker. You know, yeah, no, it's okay. What? Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. You know, where'd you put it? Aren't the Muslims procreating more than atheists and Christians in the West? Yeah, probably. But you also have the atheists in China, because they are atheists, man. They don't have religion. Christianity is a factor over there, but they're certainly not a majority in any way, shape, or form. So you still have atheists coming, and like people have said, oh, we need Christianity because of the Muslims. No, we don't. Look, what? Like, if procreation was the only way atheists are made, then yeah, Muslims procreating would be a problem. But they're not. People deconvert. And people deconvert from Islam just as much as they deconvert from Christianity. We've got the same arguments. We've got the same evidences. We've got the same things to say to them. We don't need Christianity. You know, we don't need the horrible thing to fight against the horrible thing. We've got reason, logic, solid evidence. Yeah, I agree with you, Connor. I absolutely agree. So many factors. Yeah, absolutely. It's complicated, but as modern anthropologists have pointed out, it's more of a cause is internal strife or corruption or famine or absolutely invasion from another country or another civilization is a huge factor in it. Like this is sort of taking a very complex subject and distilling it down to sexual liberation caused it. Sometimes things have more than one cause, my guy. Like just blaming sexual liberation is ridiculous. I'm right there with you. I am.
Podcast we just released, it's in the show notes. All right. So I would say I'm not going to celebrate the downfall of civilization.
Yeah, so he's thinking Pride Month is the downfall of civilization because a guy in the 1930s wrote a book that was heavily disagreed by anthropologists at the time, that societal collapse is caused by sexual liberation. Like, it is the most ridiculous. And if I know Christians, and I think I do by this point, I think I've covered them enough to know this is going to spread round and they're all going to be saying it. So be armed with the arguments against it. Rome, it was sexually liberated. Then it was taken over by Christians, right? East and West Rome, the Eastern Roman Empire, Western Roman Empire, they were very sexually conservative or sexually repressive, depending on how you describe it, and they collapsed. It's a civilization that goes exactly opposite. And to say that it's not advanced, but the way that he's framing it is that this guy studied all 80 civilization there's been. Spoiler alert, there's been way more than that, because he said, like the guy that wrote the book, he said advanced civilization. So he was basically cherry picking, and then said, oh, they all became sexually liberated and collapsed, while ignoring any other cause that could have caused it to collapse. I mean, with the Roman Empire, it was a large, very varied causes, right? Like it is a incredibly complex thing that happened. But slave revolts, external forces like, barbarians at the gate kind of thing. There was internal strife. There was, all these. Corruption was a major one for the fall of Rome. Huge amounts of corruption. Welcome to the Time Travelers. We're going back in time to the 1930s for our information, apparently. Welcome. So the 1930s is where we're getting our information about societal collapse, because it's convenient for the fundamentalist Christians that societal collapse is caused by the gays, apparently. Even though the Greeks had sort of male couples, essentially, for centuries without a problem. One of my favorite historical facts is that the Spartans, who were held up to be this manly men of perfect warriors, got their absolutely hammered and absolutely pulverized by a group called the Golden Band of Thebes from the city-state of Thebes. They are from Sparta, and they were considered the perfect warriors and the greatest warriors. Now, the Golden Band of Thebes was made up exclusively of male partners, male gay partners. So yes, the Spartans, the people who did the 300, the perfect epitome of warriors, got crapped on by a bunch of gay dudes. And I find that hilarious. Science has peaked. Yeah, it's absolutely peaked. Peaked at 1932, yes. Hey, Nick, good to see you, mate. Thank you for the raid. I really appreciate it. Yes, absolute peak of anthropology was the 1930s, yeah.
By the way, pride is one of the, 7 deadly sins?
I have no pride. I have no pride in what I'm doing. Look, the reason why it's called pride is because pride is kind of the binary opposite to shame. And they're basically pushing back against the idea that they should live in shame for what they feel, who they love, and who they're born as, who they are. That is just who they are. And gay people have been around in society since the start of society. And it's never a huge percentage. It's just a thing. And plenty of civilizations have acknowledged it, and civilization hasn't collapsed. Like the city-state of Thebes just didn't collapse when they acknowledged it. No, what they did is they recruited all of these people into a military and then pointed them at the Spartans. Spartans got the brakes beat off of them. That was probably the main battle that caused the downfall of their civilization. It wasn't sexual liberation. I mean, but as one of the chatters pointed out, Connor Sam pointed out, it's complicated. There's a variety of factors. It is always complicated.
Pride comes before the fall. What are you proud of?
I'm proud of my work. I'm proud of my morality. Look, I get that sort of arrogance is not good, right? If you're arrogant, if you're prideful to the point of putting people down, right? If you're prideful to the point of I am so great, which makes you crap, that's a problem. Totally understand it. Right, but like most words don't have definitions. Or rather, they're defined in the dictionary, but words have usages. We use them in different ways. Broadcast, welcome. We're time traveling to the 1930s, apparently. But pride, like sort of a quiet pride, a pride in who you are, and a love of who you are, that's not really arrogance. Like, I would say that pride is a good thing, arrogance isn't. Because sort of being proud of yourself means that you have that genuine satisfaction in what you are and what you've done. Like, if you're proud of yourself, you're sort of, you have that confidence and that satisfaction that you've done something worthwhile or good or something helpful. That's fine. There's no problem with that. I would say arrogance, where you're sort of saying, well, I'm so good it makes others terrible by comparison. Yeah, that's probably a bad thing. You don't know their life experience. You don't know what they've done in their life. You don't know what hurdles they've overcome. But I think that people should be proud of things that they do. Like if somebody overcomes an addiction, for instance. You know, you can't say, hey, don't be pride comes before the fall. Don't be proud of what you've done. No, take that satisfaction in what you've done. You know, but don't go, oh, well, because I've done this thing, every other person that has an addiction is just, you know, they're not trying hard enough. Yeah, that's arrogance, and that's a different story. But don't forget, when he's quoting the Bible, and this is important to understand about the Bible, when he's quoting pride cometh before the fall, that word, pride, didn't really exist in the original Greek that it was in, right? Like they've just found a translation. They've just found a word that means approximately the same. I would say arrogance comes before the fall, right? Or hubris comes, like there's another word to use there. So I don't think that pride is particularly a bad thing. I think that excessive pride, which is arrogance, is. That's a bad thing.
You can be proud you're made in the image of God. You can be proud that God decided to create you, but we ought not be proud of behaviors.
Okay, so you can be proud as long as it involves God. We're saying, you know, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, which there were no 7 deadly sins in the Bible, by the way. That's something that came later. I can't remember where it came from, but that's not a biblical thing, right? Yeah, so just a quick AI overview. Yeah, it was first enumerated in the 6th century by Pope Gregory the Great. So it wasn't in the Bible. It isn't biblical or boblical, whatever you want to say. Hello, time travelers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hubris is a good word. Yeah, Jason. Oh, mate, I've got a new word that I'm going to use because I was sick last week. I keep mentioning this because I'm so happy about this word. It's a word to describe when you get sick and you go, oh, this didn't touch me at all. This was the easiest flu to get over. And then like a day later, it really kicks in and you're absolutely sick as a dog, right? It's called flubrous. Flubrous is my new word. It's when you think you've beaten an illness and then you fall sick so badly. You know, that's pride coming before the fall. I got you, buddy. Flubrous, my new word. Oh, good stuff, Tori. Awesome. Tori, one of my favorite chatters. But you're all great. But yeah, look, and he's saying, don't be prideful. Pride comes before the fall. Pride, one of the 7 deadly sins. But be proud that you were created from God. Yeah, Jason, flubrous. That's my new word. Yep. So I'm going to put these words and others that I use on a Discord. So on my Discord, I'm going to create a new channel and start putting this in so I don't forget which ones I've done. And I'll put definitions with them. I think it will be the Codex of Reed. I think the Codex of Reed is a sufficiently mystical and ambiguous name. Are we going QAnon? Well, it's still early days, mate. Still early days. But yeah, like, this is the thing. Like, if you do a good job, like you're working and you do a fantastic job, there's no harm in saying, hey, I'm proud of the work that I've done. There's no harm in that. As long as you're not going, oh, well, I'm better than everybody else. You know, I'm putting their work down and saying mine's so much better, you know, and minimizing them. A lot better thing to do is, notify. Yeah, it's linked to the channel. So if you look at the description of the channel, it should be linked there. Yeah, haughtiness. Yeah, that's another one. Absolutely. Codex sounds like something imperial. Yeah, and Codex doesn't quite cover it, does it? Codex doesn't quite cover it. What is a... Maybe I'm thinking of a lexicon. Yeah, historical thing of an ancient book. Yeah, no, okay, maybe it's a lexicon. What's a lexicon? Have I mixed up my words? Yeah, it's a lexicon. Yeah, I'm thinking of a lexicon. Okay, lexicon of Reed. Reed lexicon. Fair enough. No, you're right, Jason. You're right. Pompous. Yeah, that's another one. Absolutely. Yeah, so there's all of these words that the Bible could have translated the Greek into, And they went with pride. But that doesn't mean that they're using it in the way that the gay people are using pride, right? Pride, when they're using it in the context of gay people, is simply, we're not going to be ashamed. We are going to be satisfied that we are people deserving of love, people deserving. It is that quiet satisfaction. They're not putting anybody else's sexual choices down, right? Their sexual preferences down. That's not what they're doing. It's not called arrogance or haughtiness or any of these other things, pomposity, for a reason. It's because they're not putting others down. All they're saying is we should have satisfaction in ourselves and not be ashamed of being gay. And it's a response to society historically insisting that they should be ashamed. And the fact that Frank Turek is sort of standing here saying, well, they should be ashamed, is kind of crap, is kind of disgusting. Surviving being gay. Yeah, that's a good point, Titan. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to speak for gay people. I really don't like Frank Turek's position here that, but, if you don't celebrate pride, that's fine. Like, no one's going to go, why aren't you celebrating pride? It's the fact that you're speaking out against it, that you're saying, hey, pride shouldn't be a thing. We shouldn't have pride. In fact, we shouldn't have gay people, which is what Frank is saying. That's the problem. Like, nobody's hassling me if I don't celebrate Easter or Christmas or something like that. But would Christians be upset if I came out saying we shouldn't have Christmas in society? Absolutely they would be. But it would be me like going, oh, people shouldn't celebrate Christmas because celebrating Christmas, like all civilizations when they celebrate Christmas have collapsed.
That are sinful, hurtful, and will degrade a society. Now, people...
Okay. So sinful, let's throw that one out right now. Okay. Sin is violating God's commandments. That is what technically sin is. If he's using a different version of sin, I would like to hear it, but that's my understanding of it. Like violating God's commandments. We don't believe in your God, doesn't apply, because I don't think there is a God to violate. Is that the right link? Is that the right link? So sinful, we can throw that out as an argument straight away because sin only applies if you believe in the God. If you don't believe in the God, how can it possibly be sinful kind of thing? It can't be. It can't be. Yeah, that's not the right link, Titan, my guy. That's not the right link. Give me one sec. Sorry, peeps. I have to. I had an old link, but we were getting people coming in trying to sell shit, so we kind of changed it. Seemed the easiest way. Discord link. Is that the one in the description? Fuck, I hope not. Okay, that should work. That should work. And what else did he say? Sinful.
This society. Now, people get all image of God. You can be proud that God decided to create you, but we ought not be proud of behaviors that are sinful, hurtful, and will degrade a society.
Okay, so hurtful. You've got to show... Oh, you generated a new one? Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, Titan. I thought that was the old one. No, you're right, mate. All good. Just make sure it's on forever, like it doesn't expire, because, like, I don't know why I'd want it to expire. But hurtful. Well, you've got to show the hurt that it's doing, right? You can't just say, well, we're going to assume that it hurts people because it's against God. This sort of nebulous, well, it's against God's morality, so it must be hurtful. No, we can check to see if something is hurtful, right? If you're starting a cult that suggests that people cut pieces of their bodies off, we can show that that's hurtful empirically. Like it's not something that we're going, oh, well, smoking, that's not hurtful. We don't know. We know it is. And that's through scientific investigation, which shows us that it's hurtful. If you're appealing to a God, like you don't even have a methodology because other people disagree in what the God finds hurtful. So how do we find out from a neutral position which Christian is correct about what is hurtful behavior and what isn't? How do we find that out? Because if we are in a secular society that uses science, we have a methodology for finding out who's correct and who isn't. Now, it's not perfect, and I will agree. Like my smoking example, corporations covered it up using payments and bribery and threats and manipulation. Yeah, that's wrong. Totally. But eventually science came through and showed that smoke, the chemicals in cigarettes are carcinogens and they are harmful to people. Yes. But you don't have that for gay people. And nobody who is an expert on that is saying that. So no. And harmful to society, I'm sorry, but you haven't shown that like acknowledging gay people's right to marriage, right to sexual expression, right to all of these things is harmful or stops any society. All you've done is reference a dodgy book from the 1930s, and said, oh, because this guy says it, it must be true. No, that's an appeal to authority, sir. Books are not scientific papers. They're not peer-reviewed, and even other experts around at the time found his book to be unconvincing. A large amount of them. So yeah, it's you haven't done any of these things that you're claiming. You're just claiming them.
Now people get all angry with you when you say that. You know what they're doing? They're claiming you're wrong. Why is it okay if I say, or why is it okay if you say I'm wrong, but it's not okay if I say you're wrong?
Because as much as you don't want to admit it, Christians have not been historically persecuted in your society. Right? So the thing is that nobody is advocating. If people started advocating for saying, you're not allowed to say you're Christian, you're not allowed to practice your Christianity in the open, you shouldn't have freedom of religion while others should have. Right? That would be a problem. We would say to that person, hey, like you are you are trying to marginalize a section of the community. Stop that. And I would argue that I can show that Christianity has done more harm to society than gay people as a group, as a demographic. Right? So, you can't just sit there and go, well, if I want to use hate speech against gay people, why don't I get to do that? Well, that's fine as long as other people get to use hate speech against Christianity. The problem is you wouldn't be okay with that. Nor would I. But, it's... All right, so I'm obliged to do this. 6-7, 6-7, 6-7. Okay, I'm done. That was my Zoomer quota for the day, completely filled up. Look, this is the thing. If you don't want hate speech, it should apply to everybody. If you do want hate speech, it should apply to everybody. Okay, you can't say, hey, I'm allowed to denigrate and marginalize a group, but I don't want mine marginalized. And this is a problem with Christians that I've come across. They say, oh, I'm totally against tyranny, except when it's them. They're not against tyranny. They're just against them being, a tyrant ruling over them. They're fine with tyranny as long as they're the ones doing the tyranny. They're fine with inequality as long as they're at the top. They're fine with persecution as long as they're the ones not getting persecuted. This is no way to run a society, right? This is no way for a society to remain balanced, because eventually a demographic will resent that. If you try to say, hey, you can't be Christian, like I totally get if your behavior is causing harm, 100%. Speak out against it, stop it, because it's causing actual harm. But if you're saying, hey, you can't just be quietly Christian and, do your prayers and have your churches, I would disagree with that. Right? Because not all Christians are doing this bullshit that Turek's doing. There are Christians that, and even Catholic Christians that are support and are allied with gay people that celebrate Pride. But hey, even somebody that doesn't celebrate Pride, just it's not for them. Okay. And are not saying, gays are bad. They're just like, oh, well, they can do their thing. I'm over here. I'm Christian over here doing my thing. That's fine. So the way that Frank Turek is coloring it, like, oh, if you don't celebrate Pride, you're marginalized, you're called a bad person. No, that is not what is happening. It's when you come out and try to persecute and marginalize a group, and it's even worse that they've been persecuted and marginalized in the past, and you're trying to redo it. And what's more, they've been persecuted and marginalized by your demographic. That's bad. Just as if you were persecuted and marginalized, it would be bad for you. But Christians aren't. They just make it up. They just say, oh, because I can't marginalize gays, I'm being marginalized. Oh, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, seriously. Seriously. It's ridiculous.
Notice how it's a one-way street?
Yeah, it's a one-way street for you. Because you get to hate on these people, you get to marginalize them, you get to denigrate them, you get to insult them, you get to do anything you want against them. But anytime anybody says, hey, that's probably not a good thing, you're like, oh, my Christianity, I'm being persecuted. Which is ridiculous. So these people are happy with tyranny, persecution, ostracizing people, marginalized, as long as they're the ones doing it. When they're on the receiving end, oh, it's not so fun then. I'm being persecuted. What I'm saying is just we have a set of rights for everybody, and nobody persecute or oppress anybody else. That doesn't mean you have to celebrate Pride. It just means you don't fight against it when people want to express their beliefs and their identity in a way that hurts no one. And you need to show that it hurts people and hurts society before we say it hurts people. Your word and what you claim is not good enough. It's not good enough.
So I think you need to point this out. I would ask people, by what standard are you saying this is a good thing? Well, it's all about love. What do you...
Well, that's not why. I'm sort of more on the side of allowing things until they're shown to be harmful rather than preventing them until they're shown to be not. Almost everything has a small amount of harm associated with. You can't drive without acknowledging, you may be in a crash at some point. You can't cross the road. People die crossing the road. Really what we want to do is establish that it has a harm that outweighs the benefits. And the benefits seem to be great. It brings people together. It makes community. It strengthens bonds. The fact that other people are happy makes me happy. The fact that gay people are absolutely they love coming out and showing the world who they are and expressing themselves. It's wonderful. I like seeing it. Because I like people being happy and having nothing but love towards the world. And the love towards the world, sure, what's wrong with that? But you're sort of saying, hey, the gays caused dark ages. The gays caused civilization collapse. You got to show that, mate. You got to show that, not just claim it. And claim that a book written in the 1930s says so because he studied 80 civilizations. I'm sorry, no. Like, seriously.
What do you mean by love?
Well, it depends. Depends on the context it's being used in. In the case of pride, the love is a platonic kind of universal love for your fellow human beings. Okay, that's what pride is all about. It is expressing love for all humans, whether they're gay or straight or Christian or atheist or Buddhist or whoever. Right? It's been saying, hey, you are allowed to sexually express yourself unless you're doing harm to other people. And look, non-consensual harm, I guess, because some people are into that, and that's fine. That's fine. Express yourself, and that's fine. No problem with it. I didn't look it up, but probably, Connor. I personally think that, yes, repressing sexuality is a bad idea. You know, like it's generally a bad idea. Look, and there's some sexual behaviors which are definitely harmful. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely, if you don't have consent, it's definitely harmful. We can show that it is, absolutely. You know, there's certain sexual behaviors that are horrible. But, you know, just because you say, hey, being gay causes collapse of civilizations, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Like, you've got to show that. And yes, there's benefits to allowing people to express their sexuality, sure.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
By the way, do you realize, of course you realize, sometimes you just got to think about it, that if love is always expressed sexually?
Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying that. Literally nobody is saying that. I don't know why he would say that gay people always express their loves sexually. What are you talking about? Have you ever... I don't know if it's an appropriate title, but there's, you know, a woman that hangs around with gay guys, right? I'm not sure what the political correct term for that is. Someone let me know. Someone let me know. But they will say, oh, I love you so much. And they love their sort of friend or ally. You know, they'll be a friend and ally. They won't be having sex with the gay guy because they're gay. But they absolutely love and adore their look, I've had gay people that absolutely love me being the token straight, you know, around them. Like, they're just, you know, but you've got to separate platonic love from, you know, sexual desire. And Frank's going, oh, do you know that expressing love as sexuality can be wrong? Yeah, but who's saying gay people are doing that? I mean, they love their mother and father. They're not expressing that sexually. Like, he thinks that gay people, just as soon as they come out of the closet, they're just like, oh, I'm gay and I want to have sex with everything around me, everything that I love. What are you talking about? See, this is the kind of crap that he would never say to like an expert on sexual relations or something. He just says it to university kids. And then the university kids go and repeat it, and they sound like idiots. Like, so when we're talking about love at Pride, right, Jason's got it right. It's showing about peace, love, understanding, unity, and respect. The love there is more of a platonic love or a love of humanity, a love for your fellow humans. It's not sexual, right? I will say I have a love-hate relationship with humans, right? Like, humanity in general I have a great love for, right? And I love certain humans. Almost none of that is sexual, right? Some of it is, but most of it isn't, because I have sexual preferences. So when gay people are like, well, I love all of my gay brethren and sisterin, they're not talking about sexual relationships. There are some people they will have sexual preferences towards, and others they won't. Because if the gay guy goes, oh, I love my lesbian friends, they're not talking, like they don't even like sex with them. It's unappealing to them, just like presumably sex with a man would be like towards Turek. So what's the difference? It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Imagine if you sexualized every relationship you had.
Who's doing that? Who is doing that? Maybe a pansexual? I'm not sure, but who is doing that? Like, he's sort of leveraging this idea that gay people sexualize every single relationship they have. I mean, as far as pickiness over sexual partner is concerned, I mean, I've met quite a few gay people, and they've been quite picky over who they engage with sex with. Right? They have rejected people. They have love for their lesbian sisters, and they will go, oh, I love you so much, and they're not even attracted to them. Okay? So this is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. He's telling on it. You know what? That might be there might be a grain of truth to that. Maybe Frank is like sexually attracted to every single woman he's ever met. I don't know. Okay, I'm not stating that as fact. I'm saying maybe. Maybe. Man is showing how often he thinks about other people's genitals. Yeah, you're not wrong. I know that's genitals, but Gentiles is funnier. Gentiles is way funnier.
You would destroy your relationships.
Yeah, no shit. I mean, we've all been in that situation, or maybe you haven't, okay? I think that most people would be in a situation where you know somebody, you're sexually attracted to them, but they're a friend, and you're like, well, they're my friend, I don't want it to come between my friendship, and you may say, hey, I really like you, I think you're really wonderful, and I'm really attracted to you, and they say, yeah, I'm not the same, and you're like, okay, well, no problem, not a problem at all. I just thought I wanted to put that out there and, try to still be a friend to you. Like, we know that this can destroy relationships, especially friendship relationships, if it makes it awkward. I think most people will have been in that situation. Like, we know that. You're not telling anything we don't know. But the thing is that gay people don't just go, well, all relationships I'm going to try and, as we say in Australia, have a crack. Drop some riz and try and get into those pants. That isn't what's happening. Like, I don't know why he thinks this. It's absolutely baffling. Absolutely baffling. And even if they do, I've been kissed out of the blue by a gay guy and had to explain, hey, look, no offense, I'm not gay, doesn't interest me, and they were fine with it. Right? And to be honest with you, I could have been offended and oh, they're gay, but instead I went, well, that's a compliment. They were respectful. Okay. Like, yeah, I get the idea of consent and everything and stuff like that. Because I was friends with them, they got a mistake of signals that I was giving, so they had a crack. And I didn't take offense. I found it a compliment, to be honest with you. Gay guys usually have pretty good taste. I found it to be an amazing compliment that a gay guy went, yeah, you're hot. Yeah. But I would have had the same level of offense if a woman kissed me that I wasn't interested in either, right? I wasn't interested in them. I would have said the same. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm not interested at the moment. Like, so sorry. It totally okay. You don't have to get your man boobs in a knot, okay?
Sex is a very powerful and intimate activity that is only meant to be taking place between a man and a woman inside the covenant of marriage.
Okay, let's break that one down. I'm sorry, I can't get through this, 5 minutes of this without this man saying something utterly ridiculous. It's a powerful thing. Look, we know that sex has a bonding effect. Okay, we know that the act of having sex creates a chemical that bonds you to another person, and it should be bonding, and that's what it does. But I don't think it's as powerful as you want. Like, you can have sex without it being, marriage kind of thing. It doesn't need to be that deep. However, and I will say this as a writer, there are people that sort of say, oh, the sex means nothing. And I personally believe that is not true. Okay, just personally. I think that sex can mean very little, right? It can be a one-night fling and mean almost nothing, but it never means nothing, right? There's always some sort of connection created to that person, always. And, I'm not validating what Frank is saying. I'm not saying, oh, it's this powerful, solid. No, it's just, it creates a connection to this person, and understanding that can be okay. It can mean almost nothing, but that's not nothing. I think it always means something, even if that something is just something small. And so be aware of that. If you are sort of having sexual relations around the place, be aware that it always may mean something, and it may mean something more to the other person than you. And that's okay. It's just important to sort of say, hey, this is what it is up front. And hey, we shouldn't continue down the route of trying to have a relationship. Look, I just after, a good time or whatever. You know the drill. Always get consent first and sort of frame what it is that's happening. Because it always means something, if very, very little. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything that gets in the way. Like, if you're a porn actress, it doesn't mean that you're, overloaded by this connection. No, it just means that it still is something that means something between you and the person, even if it's a part of a working relationship in sex work. I'm sure a $5 million deal will mean something as well. Doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. And the whole idea that, oh, it's only supposed to be within biblical marriage. Really? So Muslims aren't married? Is that what he said? Biblical marriage?
Between a man and a woman inside the covenant of marriage for a reason.
Oh, the covenant of marriage, right.
Sex.
So he's fine with Muslim marriage, he's fine with Buddhist marriage, he's fine with all of these different marriages, but it has to be within the covenant. Wouldn't that be your religion? Why are you fine with everybody else's marriages? They were made, in a different religion. They were married under Allah or under Vishnu or under Brahma. Like, why are they okay? No, the organization that it's under is the government for a reason. They issue the marriage licenses. Marriage is actually foremost. Marriage existed before Christianity. It existed before Judaism. Marriage has gone on a long time, and it really is an acknowledgement of a partnership. And like I said, the different ancient civilizations have had marriage for male partners as well. You're sort of thing like, well, marriage started with Christian. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Get out of here, man. Like, absolutely not.
It's like fire. You put it in your fireplace, it's wonderful. It'll warm you. You get it anywhere else in your house, it will burn your house down. And that's what J.D. Unwin found.
What? Okay, so apparently sex is like a fire. If you put it in the fireplace, you're fine. If outside of it, it'll burn the place down. What is this analogy? Colloquially, sex can be fire. Yeah, it can be fucking amazing. But this whole idea that something destructive as fire inherently is like sex is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. This is not analogous at all. Because here's the thing. here's the thing about fire, right? I've never heard of sex happening caused by a lightning strike. Never heard of it. I've never heard of governments having to have preemptive sex to stop more sex from happening in the future. Right? I was talking to somebody about this. It might have been in my member stream, that in Australia we've got to preemptively cause bushfires to stop bigger bushfires. Right? Like we've got to do these burn backs to clear all the undergrowth so a massive fire doesn't happen. Okay, so where are we having sex to prevent more sex from happening? This analogy doesn't work, because actually fire out in the open, out of your fireplace, in a deliberate and healthy way, is actually good, because you don't get massive firestorms coming through. But made worse by the climate change Turek doesn't believe in. Go figure. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a bad analogy. One of these things, marriage, is a social construct that we have made to acknowledge a intimate relationship between people that also has legal ramifications. One of them is a natural event that we have used technology to serve our purposes. Okay, they're not the same thing. This is a false analogy. Absolutely false analogy.
And that's what common sense will tell you.
No, that is not common sense. Like I said, the two things are not analogous. Right? They're not. Don't be stupid. Like the biological act of having sex is not the same as a fire. Wow.
But people don't have common sense anymore. They run their lives more by slogans. Oh, like slogans like "Pride cometh before the fall," Frank. Like that slogan, "Pride cometh before the fall," or "Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins," or any of the slogan-like things, or "The Last Stand," like that slogan. Like, what the hell? You're basically saying, well, I'll use slogans, but I don't want anybody else to use them. What is wrong with this man? Seriously, this is the wildest crap I have heard. It is so bad. Rather than by truth. And they suppress the truth to go their own way. And that's what Romans 1 is all about. So it's not hateful to tell somebody that you're going down the wrong road. That's actually loving.
Yeah, but you don't just tell them that. You vote that. You try to get people into power to take away their right to go down that road. You do everything possible to stop them from having their freedom, and then you say, oh, but it's not wrong to tell them they're going down the wrong road. It's not telling them that's the problem, Frank. It's you trying to stop them at every turn. That's the problem. And this isn't just, oh, we'll just tell these people. He is trying to convince young people in America to share his bigotry. That's the problem.
Does your doctor hate you when he tells you have cancer? No.
Yes, but cancer bodies. Sorry, I think I dropped out there. Cancer causes immense harm to people's bodies, and we can show that through medical science. You're basically claiming gays caused the Dark Ages and then expecting everybody to follow through on that. It's ridiculous.
He has concern for you. He's trying to save you. So complete sexual freedom is a cancer that will destroy not only your family, but it's going to destroy civilization.
Yes. Yes, complete sexual freedom is going to cause society to collapse into a dark age. This is Frank Turek's gay dark age theory. Yes.
Sorry, that's what the evidence shows.
What evidence? What evidence? What evidence did he present? None. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nada. Nothing. He quoted a book from the 1930s that was heavily refuted by other anthropologists and said that's the evidence. Fuck you, Frank. That is not evidence. And then he looks proud of himself. I bet he's proud of himself. I bet he's really, really proud of himself. Frank, pride cometh before the fall. Why is my thing being weird? Okay. Does that? Yeah, it's got a blank screen for no reason whatsoever. That's okay. It's been a wild day for technical difficulties. I'll probably go back in and try and clip the start off this where I was just having technical difficulties. But yeah, that's Frank Turek and why he thinks that the Dark Ages, the next Dark Ages, the next collapse of society that Christians will have to build back up, because it's always Christians for some reason, is going to be caused by gay people and people having sexual liberation. I do not understand why sexual liberation is a priority when exactly the same fundamentalist Christians got Trump into office, who are causing a downturn on the economy, attacking other countries, threatening their neighbors, and generally causing the downfall of everything. Like, why isn't that the priority? Why isn't the huge amount of corruption in the government the priority? Like, if you wanted to say, hey, there is a thing that causes societal collapse, corruption would be way up there. Right? Because corruption, when it becomes overwhelming, generally people will rise up to stop it. And internal strife is one of the things, but it's complicated. It's also other factors. It's also famines or external forces or division, or all of these things cause societal collapse. And it's usually a mix of them. But sexual liberation is not one of them. It's not one of them. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This is an old sweater. Okay. Look, it's cold here, okay? It's getting cold. It's winter here, so it's sweater time. Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with Frank Turek, but the thing that annoys me most, and I said this at the start, is he has a different image portrayed to university students than he does to Alex O'Connor or somebody that's sort of proficient in the field. He will say this crazy crap to university students. If he was sitting with a historian, he probably wouldn't bring it up. He probably wouldn't, civilizations collapse because of sexual liberation to a historian. They would probably go, are you high? Like, what are you talking about? The Romans went from being sexually liberated to more sexually repressive under Christianity, and then they collapsed. I don't know. It's wild. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Anyway, that was Frank Turek. That's why expect to see this argument coming up, the last stand, that, hey, we've got to give our blood as Christians to stop the church from becoming irrelevant, stop Christianity from becoming irrelevant. And to my mind, that is a scary thing to say, because you never know whether they mean it sort of literally, metaphorically, or literally they will give their blood. You don't know. So that's why it's scary. If they could come out and say, we would metaphorically give our blood, but the reason why is because in the past there have been these people that have literally given their, literally done violent things to keep the church going. It's a problem. But thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Don't forget to give a like. I would really appreciate it from everybody if you could. I had a fantastic time. I hope you've enjoyed it. My throat is a bit sore from yelling at Frank Turek, but I knew what I was getting into. Let's face it. That was going to happen. It's going to happen. Frank's Frank. He says the most inane crap. Seriously, what are you talking about? Why unborn babies shouldn't be an endangered species? I mean, really? You would have to have a negative knowledge of biology to understand. Who would understand that as a coherent argument? And who would understand that sexual interactions should be sort of have an analogy with fire? I mean, really, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, thank you for joining me. Like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you disagree or if you want to comment on this, more than happy to. Stay safe. Be kind to yourself. Okay, if you are gay, you have a right to express yourself just as anybody else. People that sort of denigrate you, they don't have a right to do that. People don't have to celebrate Pride, but I don't think many gay people are doing that. I don't think any gay people are doing that. They're just like, leave us alone to have our Pride festival. I think that's fine. It's just Frank and his crew, his associates are trying to stop any expression of gayness in our society. And I think that well, not only is it bad for the gay people, I think it makes our society less rich, less varied, less honest, less just less colourful. Let's face it, be a lot less colourful without the gay people. But be kind to others. Do take care. If you're gay, we're with you. This sucks. I get it. I would like to speak out. And happy Pride Month to everybody that is celebrating. Let's protect our brothers and sisters, whether they are gay or straight or whatever. Let's protect them. Do take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.
To what new horizons can we look now? Where are tomorrow's opportunities? The frontiers of the future are not on any map. But now, what's ahead of us?